Questions that you might have for Nikki Chavanelle, our recruiting expert, and, of course, the managing editor at HawgBeat.com, part of the Rivals Network covering Arkansas athletics. Nikki, what's going on today? I've forgotten about your fandom of Brady, Tom Brady, and I kind of thought, since I think he's been quarterbacking that team for most of your life, the Patriots, and that was your team. Did you take your fandom over to Tampa Bay? Are you celebrating a 10th Super Bowl for Brady, or are you like, whatever, my Pats stunk this year?
I didn't know how I was going to feel about it until I started watching him play with the Bucs, but once I saw it, I couldn't help myself. I have been rooting for the Bucs pretty much all season long. Both of my teams were kind of a letdown, both the Texans and the Patriots. So, I have been on the Bucs bandwagon for quite a while now, and I'm thrilled because I didn't think he was done, and I'm honestly worried that if he does win this Super Bowl, then he might retire because at that point he has done it all. But I hope not.
Yeah, I don't know if retiring is in him. I honestly, I see that I think he's going to play until he's like 47, 48. Because right now, I see no reason for him to retire. I understand the idea of going out on top, and winning a title in your last year. But it's different with like a guy like Elway, who still was good, but that was a different game then. I think Brady can play another 5 years.
It blows my mind because I don't know how a lot of people are, but personally, if I had all the money I could need and I had accomplished everything in my field that I could, I would be so out of there. I would go enjoy my life and just raise my kids, and that's it. But, it's clearly not in him. He's just not wired that way. And it's awesome. I've gotten to watch it literally almost my entire life, and it just continues. I'm excited to see what happens in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the perspective that I take from it now, because I hate him because I'm a Steelers fan, and all he did was just rub the.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, but you really have to appreciate. I say hate him in a sports way. I really don't hate him, but I'm just sick of watching him, beat my team every time he would go out and play them in the playoffs or the AFC Championship game. But at some point, you just have to step back and appreciate greatness for what it is, and that you might not see something like that again. I felt the same way about watching Michael Jordan. I feel the same way about watching Tom Brady. I was not a fan of theirs because I had other teams that they always beat, but I feel the same way about Alabama right now and Nick Saban, don't you?
Yeah, I felt it a little bit more with LSU. Like I was a little bit more excited to watch them last season, I think, than I am excited about Alabama this season. But it is just one of those things that's like, man, how long can they keep this going? And it's something you kind of watch in amazement. Although there are other teams now who have started to create, dynasties. And they do compete and occasionally take down Alabama, but, yeah, they're the most consistent.
All right, let's switch over to Arkansas football here. And before we get into the new tight ends coach, which I know hasn't been confirmed yet, I saw you posted on your HawgBeat message boards that Arkansas is almost at the 300 offer mark for the 2022 class, which, if you didn't see the number of offers from the other schools, I think anybody would say, gosh, that sounds like a lot. That's the second most offers from any SEC school for that 2022 class. So when you see a number like that, what exactly does that tell you?
Well, when Sam Pittman got in here, he noticed that they were behind, and they were a bit, so they just started offering at a really fast pace. And the dead period never ended, so they just keep getting in tape. And I don't think they hold back offers. Like if they feel good about someone's tape, I think they just go ahead and do it. Because these days, what does an offer truly mean other than getting a school a foot in the door and getting a prospect's attention? It really doesn't mean much. They don't have to commit to anything. But when the dead period does finally end, the school will get to see how many of these kids reciprocate that and want to get on campus. I bet the guys that get to Arkansas the first weekend that the dead period ends, those are the guys that we need to be paying attention to. But at this point, it's kind of just, shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, cast a wide net. I mean, I understand what you say there. So then on the other side of things, I mean, it's also a second-year program. Missouri's got the second fewest offers out at 120. Vanderbilt's got the fewest, and that has to be because of their, the academic situation there. But so, I mean, why would a school like Mizzou, and I know you don't cover Mizzou recruiting, but I mean, that's also a second-year program. Maybe not, a rebuild the level that Arkansas was, but I don't know. It's interesting to see two totally different approaches, it looks like, to recruiting, one from Eli Drinkwitz and the other from Sam Pittman.
Yeah, I reached out to our Missouri recruiting guy, and I was like, is this right? Like, have you been marking these offers down? Because that's less than Alabama, and Alabama is very exclusive in their offering. But he said, no, I think I've been pretty diligent about it, so I was just so surprised. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, they are just trying out a strategy where they are probably showing a lot of other kids interest, but they are reserving offers for when they are absolutely sure. And so the 120 that they've offered, I mean, a bunch of them are 4-stars, of course. And so I think that they just want to see where they're at with those guys. And then once visits start happening, they can see how many of those 4-stars show up to visit, and then after that, they can move on to a lot of the other guys that they've been talking to but not yet offering. It's a different strategy. We'll see how it works for them.
It really is.
Nikki Chavanelle joining us here on Halftime. Nikki, we got a pretty big football news hopefully coming down the line here with Cody Kennedy, the Southern Miss offensive line coach and run game coordinator, coming to Arkansas as the new tight ends coach. Quick work by Sam Pittman. And is it fair to say that it surprised me and Phil? I think, did it surprise you with this hire?
So I put out our tight end hot board yesterday because with the way that everything happened with the sudden news on Friday that they were parting ways with John Cooper. Like, well, that must mean Sam Pittman has someone in mind already. So we put out the hot board. Naturally, none of the guys that we even thought of were on there. Cody Kennedy is the offensive line coach who was just hired at Southern Miss last month from Tulane, where he was at for 2 seasons. After being a grad assistant for Sam Pittman at Georgia. So, even if we had looked at a bunch of Sam Pittman's grad assistants, I don't think he would have made our hot board yesterday because he did just take that Southern Miss role. That probably would have put him out of the running. But I guess Sam Pittman won out, even though he was going to go coach for Will Hall, who had, he was the coach who gave Kennedy his first shot at coaching. It was a surprise, but it makes sense now. Arkansas's tight ends need help blocking. Their grades last season were pretty bad, so I think that this makes a lot of sense. And who knows, maybe down the road he ends up moving to more of a offensive line coaching role.
You led it right into what I was fixing to ask, because it seems like on paper, when you first saw this news break, it's like an offensive line coach being a tight end coach. Like, something doesn't add up here, but you alluded to it right then. That's 99% of the reason why I think Sam Pittman makes this move is because you got Blake Kern, you got Hudson Henry, Aaron Outley. All those guys know how to catch the football. And if they don't, that's something Kendall Browse and company can work on with that. The main reason you bring in Cody Kennedy is for pass blocking, right? Or pass blocking and run blocking.
Yeah, both of those. And looking at the work that he did at Tulane, apparently their offensive line just completely turned around. I found a quote from Will Hall, who was the guy that gave Kennedy his shot, and he said, basically, you could drop him anywhere and he'll be making friends. So it sounds like he's a personal guy. I believe Hutch gave me this stat. He's now the 4th coach on staff who was playing in the 2010s. So another young guy for the staff, and so we'll see how that works for recruiting. I think it will be fine because at the end of the day, tight ends know that blocking is a huge part of the role. And like you said, guys like Hudson Henry and Aaron Outley, they have no problem catching the ball, but they definitely need work in the blocking department.
It's going to be fun to see how this whole thing plays out. And I think, too, it almost seems like right now, at least the coaching moves made by Arkansas, seems like we're pretty much done with it almost. You replaced your 3 guys that you needed to, or replaced 3 that moved on, and you got the new tight ends coach. So seems like this is the coaching staff going to be set in stone heading into 2021.
Yeah, there were some rumblings about Coach LeBlanc, the defensive line coach, having some NFL interest, but as of yesterday, he's still offering new kids for Arkansas. So to me, that signals that either that opportunity has passed or, it isn't going to happen. So, seems like that's the group. And, probably honestly saving money, but still don't know what Odom's new contract looks like.
Real quick before we let you go, we had this text message coming from Jeremiah in Cedarville. He was wanting to, earlier in the show we were talking about the quarterback room heading into next season, but like the confidence level, but he was wanting to know from you the health status of KJ Jefferson because of the injury he sustained during the Alabama game on his knee, on his leg. At last check, it seemed like everything was okay. It seemed like more of a tweak. Can you provide an update on the health of KJ Jefferson heading into spring ball?
Yeah, haven't had any intel or reason to believe that he is not, fully practicing and working out with them right now during the winter workouts. So I think he's good, but I think spring is not too far off, so we'll see. But, yeah, I think he's fine, and he should definitely be the leader of the room when spring starts. But as you know, there's a lot of new kids on the block who want to see what they can do about that.
Last thing, Nikki, do you have a nickname?
No, not really.
All right, then I have one for you. Nikki the Carpenter Chavanelle.
Yes.
What do you think? She built a bed, guys.
Okay.
She and the significant other built a king-size bed with their own freaking hands. So while some of us are just sitting around putting on weight in the quarantine, Nikki's got the DIY lifestyle going. What do you think? The Carpenter, does this fit you?
I like it, but I think Ben would say that you're giving me too much credit, although I do, I bounce off the ideas. I make sure, he'll tell me the next step, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then if it doesn't make sense, we're like, why isn't that going to work? And so it's fun. I think I save him from, making some mistakes that could cause problems. But this weekend I did act like I was helping him during the basketball game, and I made a measurement in a hurry, and he cut the headboard the wrong size, and we had to go get a new one.
Way to screw everything up, Nikki. Good job.
Okay. See, here's what I need. I've got a king-size bed myself, so I may need to reach out to her and Ben to see if they can make me one of these things, because it looked beautiful what I saw on social media.
Really, really did. No, they built it, JT.
Thank you.
They actually built the thing, not just putting it together. Okay. Nikki, congrats on not being a carpenter just yet, and thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. Nikki Chavanelle, Rivals.com. I've never built anything in my life before. Yes, I've assembled some furniture. It's quite a bit different. And JT, I understand the difference. This desk, I assembled it. I did not build the freaking thing because I wouldn't know what to do with a saw and a slab of wood if you even put it in front of me with a YouTube video.
Would you know how to use a jigsaw?
Like a puzzle, to put a jigsaw puzzle together?
Okay,
did that answer your question for you?
Yeah, that answers it. Okay.
That's how you answer a question with another question,
Gotcha.
And not have somebody tell you never to do that again. 877-377-6963. I think it's so funny now when brands don't advertise on the Super Bowl and it becomes headline news. You know what that's called, boys?
What's that?
Free advertising and very smart public relations. Stay with us.